Today's clip comes from episode 406, where I sit down with Chief Shannon Stone of the Midway Fire District in Florida. In this segment, we dive into what, in my mind, it takes to go from good to great when in the fire service. Chief Stone shares how Midway's hiring and promotional process is rooted in character, accountability, and culture, not just resume and test scores. If you're serious about building a stronger and more unified fire department, I think this one's worth paying attention to. Let's get into it. So I just got done with this book called From Good to Great, and it's an entrepreneurial book where it focuses on 11 of the best CPG businesses in the history of the United States and how they grew from good companies to great companies and how they broke that all down. And the one cool thing that the author talked about was getting the right people on the bus. And then from getting your people on the bus, you have to make sure they're in the right seats. You could have all the right people on the bus, but if they're sitting in the wrong seats, it's still not going to work. And so as a leader, as a chief of department, you have your bus. You need to get your people on that bus, and then you need to make sure that you're putting the right people in the right seat on that bus. What does that look like for Chief Stone this day and age?
Great question, man. You know, Nick Saban, obviously one of the most successful college football coaches ever.
Yes.
You know, he has a little speech. I don't know if you've seen it, but, he said his job in spring training is to get right people on the bus and the wrong people off.
I love that.
I heard that years ago, and I'm like, oh, man, well, how do we do that in the fire department?
Right.
It's so true, because you just can't come in and fire people. Not that you want to do that. I mean, maybe some people, but not here in my organization for sure. So you have to create processes, and it starts at the hiring. So this is going to be a long answer, okay?
Yeah,
so
go. All yours.
So, and these are my opinions, and these are things that we've implemented here at the Midway Fire District. It starts with your hiring process, and that's a generational thing, right? So you start today, you're not really going to see the impact for that another 5, 8, 10, 15, 20 years down the road as these right guys that you hire aspire to move up, right? So what does that look like for us? In the state of Florida, you typically have to be a certified firefighter and a certified EMT to even get on the job anywhere, which is about a year's worth of schooling. Most of the places you have to be a paramedic, which is another year to year and a half school. So it's a little bit more challenging in a lot of places in the state of Florida to get on as a firefighter because you have to put the effort in before as opposed to getting hired. They pay for you to go to the academy and all your schooling. Now, we've had a combination of both those in the last couple of years because we've had a firefighter shortage in the state of Florida. So you have to sometimes look at guys that are either in school, on some occasions send them to school. But what that looks like for us is we have a hiring board that's comprised of all the ranks, and they're given pretty direct orders of what I want them to do. And it's really simple. We want you to hire the person, not the qualifications. It's as simple as that. And we design our questions around to try to learn as much as we can about that person. Now, working in the panhandle of Florida, we don't have any large urban cities. The only thing that we have that is a larger city is the city of Pensacola, and that would be considered a small city. So we typically know people that know people. So especially if you're certified or you come somewhere else, somebody knows somebody they can call to get an unofficial reference on you. So there's a lot of that goes on, and we do our very best to hire the person, which, what does that look like for us? Well, there's times that we've passed up firefighter paramedics with experience. So again, that's about 2 to 2.5 years of training to get to that point, plus how many years of experience to hire a guy that's in the fire academy that's not even an EMT. Because we're investing in a 25-year investment, so I'm okay with spending the money to send the guy to EMT school. I'm okay to pay him while he's in school, to pay him overtime, when he runs over to get qualified, because this is an investment. So that's your first step, right? You don't always get it right. So how do you ensure to the best of your ability that you weed them out? You have a good probationary process. Our probationary process is like many others, is 12 months. The difference between ours is in 3 phases. There's a task book. They have to complete it. At the end of each phase, there's a practical test, and I like to refer to it as a pass-pass test. So they prepare you for it. Tell me all the details about your CBA, right? So if you can't pass, you're having problems with it, it's a red flag. If we can't fix it,
we want you to pass. Yeah, we're not here to get you.
Right.
We want you to pass. Yes.
Yeah. The second part of that is what's called an EPE. It's an employee performance evaluation, and that EPE is made of about, I'd have to look at it, it's about 20 different points, and out of those 20 points, there's like 18 of them that are very subjective, and the company officer fills it out. And basically it says, what's their attitude like? What's their work ethic like? How do they receive criticism? And all this. And it's a meet standards or don't meet standards. And in order to pass it to go to the next phase, 100% is meet standards. It's not a need improvement. It's not you're doing well. It's an opportunity for the officer to really give feedback. If the probationary firefighter has one section that does not meet standards, they immediately go into a 30-day performance improvement plan. So we give them the opportunity to say, hey, listen, Joe, here's what you got to do. I'm going to help you get there. 30 days later, they go through the same cycle. If they don't pass it again, no questions asked, they're gone. People say, well, why do you have that? Because I want my bosses to have the ability to say, this guy's not fitting in. Now, the argument will come, well, how do you just, how do you deal with, like, maybe it's a personality conflict? Well, you have to have bosses above them that are actually engaged, so that the battalion chief can go, we've had problems with this kid. Like, he just seems to always have an attitude. Okay, he's not fitting in. Go to the next guy, right? So between the right hiring process and a good probationary period, I believe that you're setting yourself up for the best chances to have that foundational firefighter. Now, what's the next step? The next step is to build promotional processes that positions people in the best position to promote. But even before that is building a culture of expectations that are leading up to the promotional process. So what does that look like? For us at Midway, and for my previous department of Fort Walton, is that if you weren't seeking outside education, if you weren't going outside your bubble, you were the minority. And not only that, but we bring people in. So there are two categories of firefighters. You have firefighters, and I would fall in this first category, where I'm constantly was reaching out, calling, whether it's listening to podcasts, being on it, going to class, I'm learning. Then you have the second set that they come in and they do a really good job. They give 100% when they're here, and I'm totally fine with that. They don't like getting out a whole lot. So those guys, nothing wrong with those guys. They're in series of lives that's different. They're raising kids. I get it. I totally get it. So what do we do to help those guys? We bring outside instructors in 3 to 4 times a year because they're being exposed to it. Now, all that being the case, that's the culture building up to a promotional process. So in our department, we have 3 different promotional ranks. We have driver, we have company officer, which is a captain, we have battalion chief, and then it goes to deputy after that. Each one of those processes look a little bit different because I'm looking for a different person for driver. As an example, we give bonus points that add on at the end of the score of your promotional exam for driver, and they don't get any points for being having a bachelor's degree. You don't know why? I don't want them. It does not help them become a better driver. Now, as you move up administratively, sure, yes. I don't want my firefighters being so hyper-focused on getting a bachelor's degree because they can get 5 extra points. So what do we have them do? So for drivers, they get extra points for going to up to 2 conferences a year. Those conferences have to be approved by the deputy chief, and they have to be fire-based, and or they get one conference that's an EMS conference that has to be approved by the deputy chief. There's a process that they apply, it goes through, we track it. Within a certain period of time, they get points. They get seniority and step up rank, a small percentage, and we have one division of special ops in our department, which is rope rescue. So if you're rope rescue operations certified, you get a point. And these are not going to swing a test. Right. We've had guys that are within a point or two. These points make a difference on who gets promoted. Sure. But the point is that each rank, we build in things that we believe are important to develop the person to be best for that rank. As an example, one of the points that you can get, the extra points you can get for a captain, is if you attend the company officer class at FDTN, because we think that is super valuable and it brings a lot to the table.
Love that.
So to back up, to give you an idea about this promotional process, we revamped them about 1.5 years ago, and we put a committee together that was comprised of union members, myself. At the time, I was the deputy chief, and really it just took a bulk of the fire department. You can call them union members, but of course the union's involved in everything that we do. It just makes sense. Then we identified what traits that we believe make the best rank of a driver, company officer, and battalion chief. And we put them on a whiteboard. And I said, okay, now that we've identified these traits, the next column is how do we measure these traits? I want to know if we're saying that these list of 15 items make the best driver in our department, then let's figure out how to measure them and let's put them into a promotional process.
I love that.
So what we did as an example for drivers is the way the drivers looks is it's broken into several categories, if I can find them. It's broken into it's broken into the practical portion, which is a driver's test. It's broken into a pumping portion, which is 2 pumping evolutions, and they have to go through basically about 8 months of training to become what we call a step-up driver or a step-up lieutenant. That's our rank for driver.
Right.
And the promotional process comes out of that training. They don't get any curveballs. There's like 15 to 20 scenarios they can get, and it's a really comprehensive practical pumping evolution. They take a written test, which is a small percentage of the test. That gets them into the game. You got to pass the written to get to that. And they also do what's called a peer perception evaluation. And the peer perception evaluation is a ranking system that every single person in the fire department, because we're a small department, with the exception of probationary firefighters, have an opportunity to rank you on. And it's a 2-page thing, and basically what they rank you on is personal initiative, motivation and attitude, communication skills, training preparation, job knowledge, and experience.
Wow.
And it's not a point system, it's a ranking system. So if you have 5 candidates, and Jeremy, you're coming in, you have these 5 candidates, you have an opportunity to rank who you believe is going to be the best down. Yep. That is 40% of the promotional score for the drivers.
Wow.
That is 50% of the score for the captains, and that is 80% of the score for the battalion chiefs. And it's a very unique concept.
Yeah, without a doubt.
People have a hard time wrapping their head around. And
but you're getting buy-in on all levels.
Yeah.
Everybody's a part of the process, right? When you said you sat down and worked hand in hand with the union to develop these, processes, right? And then you're talking about the ranking system where the rank and file firefighter has a say in what the leadership or promotional process can potentially look like and who they want to be in those seats. There's tremendous value there because you're showing them you believe in the process and you believe in your own people to help provide the right feedback, and you desire that. And on the back end, you're going to follow through with what your department's looking and wanting to have in place. It's a win. Thanks for checking out this latest clip from episode 406 with Chief Shannon Stone. What a great conversation. If you haven't checked out the episode in its entirety, episode 406 is across all of our podcast channels, audio and video on YouTube. So thanks for tuning in. And like I like to say at the end of every single episode, take this conversation, take it back to the firehouse and talk about it, because when we're talking about the job, we're making the job better. I'll see you at the next one. Thanks for tuning in. Jeremy, National Fire Radio.